Everyone. Today I'm going to talk about enhancing oral English proficiency through virtual reality, an empirical study among Chinese university EFL learners. First, I'm going to talk about the category. I separate into three sections. First, the introduction. Second, research questions. Third, literature review. About the introduction part, I'm going to introduce why it is important and about the backgrounds. The development of the oral English proficiency is a central goal in second language educations. So many learners still struggle to achieve communicative competence through traditional classrooms methods. Research in second language acquisitions has shown that immersions in authentic language environments significantly enhance speaking skills, particularly about the language fluency, pronunciations, and spontaneous speech productions. However, for most English as a foreign language students, especially in non-English speaking countries like China, study abroad or assessing immersions environments is not a feasible options. To addressing this gap, the researchers have explored various alternative stimulus real-life language use, such as role play, situational dialogue, and task-based learnings. While this method can be effective, but they often lack of creating the cognitive, emotional, and situational richness of real-world communications. So recently, a lot of researchers in the educational technologies, particularly in VRs, has opened a new possibilities for stimulating immersive environments within the classroom. High immersions VR offer the learners an interactive 3D space in which they can practice spoken language effectively and contextualize situations. Researchers by Yang, he put forward that VR supported language instructions can significantly improve EFL learners' communicative ability by increasing motivations, reduce their anxieties, and providing repeated exposure to realistic scenarios. So, despite growing global interest in VR for language learning, its use in public university in China remain limited, and empirical study examining its impact on oral English instructions are still scarce. So, in particular, field study have focused on how VR influence specific aspects of oral proficiency, such as about the language fluency and interactions among non-English major in Chinese university education's context. So this study aims to investigating the effective of VR-based speaking activities on the oral speaking proficiency of Chinese university students. Specifically, it explore whether integrating immersive VR stimulations into speaking instruction can enhance learners' fluency, confidence, and also communicative performance compared to the traditional classroom teaching methods. Although the previous researcher has shown the benefit of using VR, its effects on EFL learners have remained underexplored, put forward by Do Gonzalez in 2018. Let it it lack of the use of the head-mounted display among few achieving learner in EFL context. So connecting communicative ability with VR in EFL setting has also have been insufficiently examined. Even few attempts have been made among low-achieving learners in comparisons with the relative richer literature focusing on experienced or moderated proficient learners put forward by Levick and Son in 2017, thus making empirical evidence particularly scarce about how VR facilitate non-English major university students with low English proficiency and motivation concerning their communicative ability to other learning related factors. The researchers' question, I made three of it. First, to what extent does the integrations of virtual reality stimulus improve the oral English proficiency of Chinese university EFL learner compared to the traditional classroom instructions? Second, how does the use of immersive VR environments affect learners' fluency and interactional competence during spoken English tasks? And last one is, what are the perception of Chinese university students regarding the usefulness and motivational impact on VR-based speaking activity in English learning? I separate into literature review into 5 different parts. First, part 1, challenge in developing L2 speaking proficiency. Second, the role of immersion and authentic practice. Third one, VR in language learning. Fourth, cognitive and affective benefit of VR for speaking. Finally, I'm gonna talk about the research gap. First, about the challenging in L2 speaking. Speaking is the most difficult skill for EFL learners, according to Han and Sari in 2022, and limited classroom opportunity for real-time speaking, according to Moller and Catalano in 2015. So in many Asia contexts, including China, Korean, and Japan, EFL learner often demonstrate strong skill in reading and writing compared to speaking. This is partly due to classroom environment that prioritize grammar and vocabulary over oral communications. To students, limited exposures to spontaneous real-time speaking opportunity seems very important. As a result, learner often experience communications anxiety and a lack of confidence when they speaking in English. This emotional and cognitive challenge can significantly hinder the development of the oral fluency and their pronunciation accuracy and international competence. The immersion and authentic practice, according to these two research, we can get conclusion that even though the approaches like task-based learning and role-play attempt to stimulate real-life interactions are often constrained by time, classroom dynamic, and lack of realistic context. So this limitation call for innovative method that can bring elements of real-world language use into the classroom in a sustainable way. About the VR in language learning, according to Chen Ling Wang, these two researchers, we can conclude that VR enables realistic interaction in 3D environment, improve the fluency, vocabulary, pronunciation, and confidence. And also, high high immersion VR allows the learner to engage in real-time interaction, so which closely mimic real-life contexts such as shopping, like traveling, or attending meetings, or even including job interview. About the cognitive and affective benefits of VR for speakings, VR environments are also offer a cognitive benefits, reducing the learner's entrance cognitive load. When learners interact with in a visible, rich, and contextually appropriate setting, they can draw on visual cue and real-time feedback to construct their speech more easily. And also, affective factor are equally important. Many studies highlighting that the student feel more engaged and less anxiety when using VR for language practice. And about the research gap, although the evidence support the effectiveness of VR in enhancing L2 speaking skill, researchers is still in its early stage, like particularly in Chinese public university context. So most existing studies have been conducted in private language school or in experimental setting outside formal education system because of the costs are super high. Moreover, few studies have examined how specific feature of VR, like scenario design or the immersion level, impact the measurable aspect of oral proficiency, such as the fluency and the accuracy and the interactional competence. This gap suggests that a need for classroom-based, context-sensitive research that explore how VR can be effectively integrated into English oral instruction for these students. Thank you.